Hello and welcome to SBN News. I'm Kendra Byers, the Head of Community and Strategic Partnerships.
And I'm Scott, Head of Marketing at SBN.
Scott, we are officially in December now. I'm excited for you to share a little bit more about SBN's festive plans. Also, can you see that Rob has decided to join us for the festive season?
Yeah, you're the first to have a Christmas ornament.
Santa last week and now Rob.
So. Oh yeah, of course. We'll have to top it.
So this is our 8th show that Scott and I have done where we bring updates on our members, what they've been up to, what's coming up, and talk to some of the business leaders in our membership. It'd be great for you to let us know in the comments if you're enjoying the show, and if you're looking to join us one week, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Over to you, Scott.
Yeah, we're looking back at what's been happening over the last week, and it's been busy as always. It was good to see India became the 53rd country to get a .scot domain. We've got one as well. And that was quite interesting because that was after they heard about it at Scottish International Week. So it was good to tie those two in. Sylvia Baldock, who appeared on our 2nd or 3rd show, she gave a TEDx talk on becoming more significant. And that was at the TED Fearless Conference, which looked like a really great event. Bart officially launched the PB Link Stories podcast, which is really interesting because it explores why the Polish community is one of the most entrepreneurial in the UK and why it has been for well over 100 years now. The latest episode of the SBN podcast series also went live. You can catch our interview with Peter Proud on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Cloud Cover IT were back in the news. They've continued to invest in new talent despite the pressures from all this pandemic. And Andrew Hood from Linchpin Analytics delivered a masterclass with Scottish Enterprise, and that was giving an overview of data analytics for e-commerce businesses, which is just going to become more and more important as we go on. Last night, Carbon Financial sat down for a fascinating conversation with Scottish portrait artist Gerard Burns. They learnt a little bit about his life as an artist and his approach to art. And of course, we celebrated St Andrew's Day with a series of events, interviews, and panel discussions on Monday. You can catch all the recordings of that on the website and replay the videos live. What's coming up? Well, Christmas is here. We've launched the SBN Christmas Hamper. It's a place where you can find some great Christmas gift ideas, join some festive events, help out in some charitable fundraisings, and even listen along in a curated Christmas playlist, all from the SBN members. You'll be able to find the details of that in the description of this video. We'll also be hosting a Christmas bash for SBN members on December 18th. More details will be announced next week, but you can get that in your diaries now. There's also some more events coming up from the members as well. The University of the Highlands and Islands are hosting the first of their Leaders Perspective series on December 9th. The SDV Growth Academy is back on December 10th. This month, we're looking at expanding the network and connecting with new customers. And our ambassador in Singapore, Fraser Morrison, has announced his next LinkedIn for Leaders course, which starts on December 14th. I did a very similar course with Fraser back starting in September, and I highly recommend it. The details of that can be found in the description of this video as well. But that's what's coming up. Kendra, what have we got today?
Well, we're welcoming Emma Little, founder of and CEO of ExecSpace. Hello, Emma. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I just wanted to start by asking you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about ExecSpace.
So my name's Emma Little. I'm the Chief Exec and founder of ExecSpace. ExecSpace is 12 years old and we are the largest venue finding agency in Scotland and one of the leading venue finding agencies in the UK.
Great. So we're in a very weird time at the moment. It's very strange times that we're in. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact there's been on ExecSpace?
Yeah, so our core business is basically helping corporates in the public sector book all their meetings, events and conferences. Yeah, and everything being channeled through ExecSpace rather than them having to have those relationships with the venues direct. So clearly, as a company that sits within hospitality in the event and conference space, we've been really badly impacted by COVID. So in 2020, we've lost about 87% of our income, which is clearly less than ideal. And 2021 will be a very challenging year as well. But the whole sector's been really badly hit. So it has been brutal. I mean, I feel relatively relaxed. I think, fortunately for me, ExecSpace has been through a few wars, and you know, I've had to steer the ship through very stormy waters in the past. So I think, to a degree, you kind of get used to it, and you learn how to compartmentalize it so it doesn't take over your life. So I would say 90% of the time I felt fairly relaxed, 10% of the time I've been absolutely bricking it. But what's remained constant for me since March, and has never wavered, is that there's no single part of me that doubts we will ride this out and we will come through it. I'm under no illusion that it will be easy. I think there's already been some horrendous days, and I think there'll be more to come. But I think as long as me as a leader and my team can conserve our energy and relax when times aren't particularly stressful, then we'll have the resilience and the energy to come through anything that's thrown at us over the next 12 months or so.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. You mentioned resilience, and I've always thought of you as quite a resilient leader, and you're also very innovative. So is there any particular ways you've responded to these challenges, and any strategies that you've implemented within your team to support you as you've responded to these changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to get a level of acceptance, right? So before we went into COVID, 2 weeks before we went into COVID, ExecSpace was in the best place it had ever been. Like, finally, okay? We just re-signed the government contract for another 4 years. We were 30% up year on year compared with 19. We'd moved into a nice new office on George Street, and we'd secured 3 new private sector contracts, which have yet to come to fruition, obviously, because there's been no income. So I think you have to accept that. You know, a lot of people have challenged me and said, "You're not raging, and you're not sad." Of course I am sometimes, but actually it's not going to do me any good. So what I've tried to do from day one is be really open and transparent with the team, really open and transparent with the creditors and our suppliers, etc., who we're obviously having to push and negotiate hard with. Try to have a robust plan and stick to that. So we had initially weekly leadership meetings, and actually now they're every fortnight. I've tried to be really prudent. So even when people were talking about the recovery happening at the end of 2020 and events and conferences, etc., coming back then, which is what we initially thought back in March and April, I was already chatting to my FD, my finance director, about actually let's see if we can ride this out into September 2021, because I think that's more real. And we've always assumed like no income in the cash flow, whereas we are making some money, albeit it's a fraction of what we'd normally make. I've made sure I've got the strongest team around me, and I've made sure that there's absolute laser focus. You know, if you've got a reduced team and challenges ahead, there can be no duplication in the team, so everybody's really clear about what they're accountable for and what they need to deliver. And it's just the resilience piece. You know, I think I've spoke to you guys before you start a business, you think it's about being connected or polished or really clever, but it's not. It's about resilience, and it's about the ability to get out of bed and bounce out of bed and solve problems and keep your head up even when it feels like some days the world's crashing down around you. And I think that stood us in really, really good stead. Additionally, we've rolled out virtual. I think you asked about innovation. So it kind of became apparent, I guess probably about 6 or 7 weeks into the pandemic, that, geez, the longer this goes on, these big corporates that we normally book meetings and events for, they can't just stop communicating with customers, prospects and clients, and customers, prospects and staff. So we'll need to give them an alternative solution. So rather than build something, which would be nuts because it would take us ages to get it to market, or just partner with one particular platform, which would be mental given the diverse range of our clients, we made a decision to come up with a platform agnostic offering, whereby we would take the individual briefs of the client and we'd find the platform that best suits their needs, and we'd effectively build a customizable solution for each and every requirement.
It's great to hear how much you've supported meeting planners as they've transitioned into this world of virtual events, which is new to us all, but it has pushed us that way, which in a way is good. So you're now using your expertise and experience as a business leader, and you're supporting other businesses as they maneuver the current times and beyond. Can you tell us a little bit more about the support that you feel you could deliver to fellow business leaders?
Yeah, so I think, you know, clearly I could completely unravel the business, so it's just me, and then wait for the recovery and then hire a new team. But for me, that's crazy. It's like the recovery will come, and do you want a start-up at the recovery, or do you want an established team that know what they're doing and can hit the ground running? So I've been really passionate to try and get the balance between keeping a team and an infrastructure in place, but not burning through cash unnecessarily, right? So I've still got a fairly decent team in place handling the day-to-day running of ExecSpace, albeit it's a fraction, obviously, of what we normally do. So really, apart from the really heavy lifting in terms of the really key relationships and the really key negotiations, I've got a bit of capacity now, and the people around me, like the bankers that I've dealt with, or my non-execs, or folk like that, I've always said, look, you've got an ability to negotiate, you know, really well, and you seem to have an ability to overcome and overturn situations that most people would think were unsurmountable. Yeah. So there's been a few occasions where it's like, where the people around me have thought, I don't think ExecSpace is going to come through that, but I've managed to find a way. So I'm quite keen, given that I have got some capacity until the recovery comes, to leverage that skill set and help other businesses that are potentially in distress, because I fear that businesses will struggle unnecessarily, either because they're burying their head in the sand and they're too scared to face it on, which you just can't do, it's not going to do anybody any favours, or they just don't understand the art of what's possible, you know, with strong negotiation, really great communication, and just trying to find a way. And it's also about using this opportunity to do what makes our heart sing. And this is going to sound weird, but what makes my heart sing is on a Monday having a scenario where you're like, I have no idea how we're going to solve that or come through it. But by the Friday or 3 months later, you've done it. And it's like, people don't realise, but there is always a way, you know, even if at first it seems impossible. So that makes my heart sing. I think I'm relatively good at it. So I'm quite keen to leverage that additional capacity that I have right now to put it into other businesses. So for me, 2021 is about, you know, continuing to make sure that ExecSpace is coming out the other end, which 100% we will. There's absolutely no part of me that ever doubts that, even on the bad days. It's about keeping the team happy and motivated and laser focused on the areas that they need to be laser focused in. It's about continuing to communicate with clients, because actually the suppliers that continue in our space to communicate with our clients throughout will be more likely to prosper from the business at the other end. And with the rest of the time, I'll do what makes my heart sing, and I'll have huge challenges, but by the Friday when you've got your glass of wine, you're watching the telly, you've solved it. So yeah, that's what I'm quite keen to do.
Well, it's great to hear that from you, Emma, and you're obviously quite passionate about helping fellow business leaders as they manoeuvre the current situation and turn around those difficult situations and look at the end and there's like a rainbow effect over it. Or if you're in the middle of negotiations at the moment, I can recommend that you reach out to Emma. So thank you for joining us today, Emma, and we look forward to following updates on ExecSpace into 2021 and beyond, and we look forward to having you back in the future. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Emma's not our only guest today, though, is she, Scott?
No, I'd like to welcome Mick O'Connor.
Good morning, both. How are you?
We're doing well. How are you, Mick?
Fantastic, as usual.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So thanks for joining us. And before we start, how about you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, no problem at all. So I'm Mick O'Connor. I'm the founder and director of HAELO Consulting, and we aim to eradicate uncertainty, but I'll tell you a wee bit about that a wee bit later on.
Well, that's a good segue, because what I was going to ask is if you could tell us a bit about HAELO Consulting and the progress to where you've got to now.
No problem at all. So Next week's a big week for HAELO. So after 3 years of blood, sweat, tears, and lots of tears, we launched the HAELO software app. I have become a software developer by accident after working with a client on a consultancy framework that I developed. And they loved the framework, asked me if I was going to develop software. I could hardly spell software 3 years ago. And I thought, really? So I spoke to them and they said, well, if you could develop software that could, support this framework, we'd bite your arm off. So I took myself in a darkened room, a wet towel in my head, and thought, well, where do you start? And now I'm launching it next week. Took me a bit of time because I wanted to validate it. And I've now validated it against a number of customers, both paying and not paying customers. And I've just got to a point now where I'm confident in it. But equally, what I wanted to do was I didn't want to seek indebtedness. I didn't want investment. I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to have some creative latitude where I could create what I had a vision of creating, and that's what I've now done. So that launches next week, and it's HAELO IO, and the IO bit is all about insightful organizations. So it's about helping leaders overcome and deal with uncertainty and encountering the negative effect that uncertainty has on both the performance of a business and the mental well-being of the people who make decisions. And the reason that's important to HAELO, and particularly to me, is one of the things I think I struggled with as a business. I knew what to do, I knew how to do it, but it was the why. So I watched Simon Sinek over and over, and I thought about, what is my why? And it was all about uncertainty. And I hate uncertainty. In fact, I really hate uncertainty, and I hate that horrible gut-wrenching feeling that you get when you're a leader, when you're under pressure to make decisions and you're not entirely sure and you're not entirely confident, and just that horrible knot that you get in your stomach. So that's where HAELO comes in. And I think at the moment there's a lot of talk about mental resilience for very obvious reasons. And I think that's important, but the problem I've got with it means that the human is the last line of defense. So I think it's important that we as humans can be mentally resilient and take the knocks as they happen. But really what I'm all about is understanding, what is the cause of that mental anguish and really nipping that in the bud at its source. So I think having people who are mentally resilient is important, but understanding the cause of that anxiety and anguish, I think, is also really important. And really that's the part that HAELO plays. So I thought the best way to overcome uncertainty was to almost flip it in its head and saying, well, if uncertainty is the problem, let's increase certainty. So, and really what it was about is how to enable leaders to make better decisions and insight-driven decisions. So what the HAELO app is all about is how to connect people across an organization, and whether that's, an organization that's an office of 20 people, or maybe it's an organization that's got multi-sites across the UK, or it's a multinational business, but it's got sites all across the world. Mm-hmm. And it's about, well, what is it the organization wants to achieve? What's the results? What's its goals? What's it endeavoring to do? And what does success look like? And what are the things that will enable the organization to be successful? And organizations by their nature are complex. And the whole nature of complexity means it's unpredictable. Yep. And what we tend to do in business, and we try to come up with very simple solutions to complex situations, and sometimes it doesn't always work because the world is dynamic. There's lots of changes going on. We almost try to create models and processes for steady state. And in 30 years in this game, I've never been in a situation where I've been in steady state. So it's how do you respond to that constantly changing environment? And I don't know if you've ever heard the term VUCA at all, which is not a swear word. So VUCA is all about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And really, that's what kills businesses and what kills programs. So the complexity part of it is that if it is unpredictable by its nature, what you need to be good at and what an organization needs to be good at is the ability to detect and respond to changes in its environment. And the shorter the time between detecting something starting to go pear-shaped and responding to it is critical, because it enables you then to course correct quickly and get back on course to then deliver whatever your goals or objectives happen to be. So really what HAELO from a consultant point of view is all about is helping leaders get laser focused on what's critical to success, making sure all the ducks are in a row. And then what the software is designed to do is to then connect people and allow them to then share information across a wide network so that leaders can then make insightful decisions. So it's really about how do we create harmony across a wide network, and how do you help an organization to work as one. So that's what HAELO is in a nutshell.
It's definitely sort of thing to target as well, because not only is this uncertainty for leaders such a challenge when dealing with their own team and with everything else, but when it comes to decision making, if you don't know what you don't know, then there's challenges down the road that you don't even know you're going to face.
Absolutely. And I know, I could tell you over a beer one night, I've been on the wrong side of uncertainty too many times. I've mainly worked in businesses that are safety critical, so you get it wrong and people die. So it's really, really important that you understand uncertainty, because uncertainty is a source of risk. So the quicker you can detect a risk and mitigate a risk, the better. But I think it's the unknown that's the scary bit, and that's the bit that kind of drove that anguish and that horrible gut-wrenching feeling that I seem to carry through most of my management career.
So, as you say, you launch next week, and a lot of hard work and passion has gone in to get HAELO to where it is now. So, with that in mind, what has 2021 got planned?
Success. So what I've done is I start the soft launch process next Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let that run for 6 months until the beginning of July next year. We have looked at the customer journey from how do we attract attention and interest, and how do we take customers through that pipeline until we ultimately transact with them and we do business with them. So what I've done is, because of the current COVID situation, I decided not to recruit people. So what I'm using are other agencies and partners that I'm working with. That helps to safeguard HAELO to some degree. So I've got people working at the front end doing the digital marketing side. Yep. I've got people hosting the software who will then do the kind of front office, and help desk type stuff. So there's lots of touch points. The only challenge I've got is the bit in the middle, which is me, which is if people are then looking at demonstrations, it could well be that I'm the bottleneck and the choke point. But if that's the case, happy days, because it means the front end is working. And there's other people I can then bring in to then open up capacity. So really what we're looking to do over the next 6 months is to really get it out there. We've got the Google Analytics working in the background, and just understand what level of interest and interaction are we getting, and then just fine tune the messages, because I'm very, very confident in the solution. I've lived the problem, so I understand clearly what the problem is. I believe this solution will help to overcome that problem. So I've got 100% confidence in the product and the offering. So it's really about how we get the messaging right and we can finesse that. So really all I'm looking to do, and the challenge I've set the team is win 5 new bits of business from customers I don't already know in the next 6 months. Now, I think if we can win 5, we'll win many more than 5. But I thought it's a nice, small number we can get our heads around, and we're confident we can do that. And any income that we generate will then be recirculated back into the business and develop the software. And at the moment, the consultancy business has helped to keep the business solvent. So the consultancy side of it, I'm involved in the build of a spaceport. So that's providing, quite steady income. What that's allowing me to then do is obviously keep the lights on, put food on the table, but it's allowing me to then pay for those other people that then come in and helping me. So while I'm working on the spaceport, they're actively working on HAELO. So at the moment, ironically, COVID may be the making of HAELO, because I came into 2020 with a full order book, doing consultancy. There was lots of aspirations that I had, but I just really didn't have time in my life to really pursue them. And what this has allowed me to do is have notionally 3 days a week that I can give to HAELO. The other 2 days are then funding everything else we're doing. So there's a whole load of projects that really have pushed forward with. And really since April, I had a bit of business that was very hard won. It took me 18 months to land it. We started that in January. It was going great guns, and this thing called COVID happened. We thought, well, we'll disappear for a fortnight and we'll come back and we'll start the project again, and obviously the rest's history. Yeah. So 2 weeks into lockdown, they canned the entire contract. That was 150 grand hit. So it left me smarting. But as soon as I come off the call with them, I realised that there's nothing I can do to influence it. The deed is done. Okay, how do I respond to it? So really since April, I thought, how do I reposition HAELO? How do I then scale up, but more through the software side of the business as opposed to the consultancy side? So it's up to this point, it's been a consultant business with a software upsell. I'm now flipping it to be a software business with a consultant upsell, and really that's the transition I'm in at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, we'll hopefully get you back on as that progresses through the start of 2021. But for now, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us, Mick.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks again. Now.
Bye. Bye.
It's always a delight to have our members join us and share with y'all. Scott, what do we need to tell our audience to look out for this week?
Yeah, so I'd ask you all to check out the SBN Christmas Hamper to see all the different exciting things that are happening across the festive period, along with all these festive events. Speaking of events, we'll have our Q1 events for 2021 up on the members portal, so you can start getting those dates in your diaries. And today, I would like to leave you with a series of Happy St. Andrew's Day messages from our members across the world.
And I'm wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day from here in St. Albans.
Happy St. Andrew's Day from Largs.
Hi, I'm Fiona, the Scottish Business Network Ambassador for Auckland, New Zealand, wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day wherever you are in the world.
Happy St. Andrew's Day from Edinburgh.
Wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day from Gifford in East Lothian.
Wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day from Jules at STV in Glasgow.
Happy St. Andrew's Day from Boston.
Have a happy St. Andrew's Day.
I want to wish you a very happy St. Andrew's Day from West Sussex.
Happy St. Andrew's Day from Edinburgh.
Wishing you all a very happy St. Andrew's Day from our global Clan Hunter family.
And I am wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day.
Here wishing you all a happy St. Andrew's Day from Leith.
Happy St. Andrew's Day from Glasgow.
And a very happy St. Andrew's Day from down here in sunny downtown Farnham in Surrey.
Happy St. Andrew's Day to all our friends at SBN from the gates of Borthwick Castle.
Wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day from here on Barassi Beach on Scotland's west coast.
Wherever you're watching this across the SBN network, a very happy St. Andrew's Day from Edinburgh.
Fair fire honest, sonsy, face great chieftain with a pun race. Oops, wrong day, but happy St. Andrew's Day anyway.
Everybody has a great St. Andrew's Day. All the best from everyone in Brazil.
Wishing you a very happy St. Andrew's Day from Stirling Castle, complete with rainbow.
But we wanted to take a second just to wish you all a very happy St. Andrew's Day from us.
Happy St. Andrew's Day from all of us in the Highlands.
Happy St. Andrew's Day. Russell Dalglish, Chairman of Scottish Business Network, wishing you a wonderful